Greetings, this is Ms. Winters and welcome to my MLA final draft tutorial, how to convert your rough draft, as in your outline, to a final draft in the form of an MLA formatted essay. Okay, what you're gonna notice here is that I'm going to be working from 3 different resources. One is going to be this Writing 101, a guide to informative or explanatory essay writing. And although the actual essay that you all have written is a critical response essay, it has the same format and structure, okay? So do not pay attention to that, please. And then I will also be using a former student's outline along with her final draft. All right, some of these slides I will be bypassing. You want to ensure that you have a 5-paragraph essay. You need to ensure that you have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, as well as a conclusion. All right, the introduction. So we want to ensure that we know what the introduction entails, but beforehand, let's go over how your actual paper should be set up. Okay, if you look here, you're going to notice that Asiata has a cover page. I didn't show you all how to do this for the mere fact I didn't want you to be too concerned about the cover page as of right now. I wanted you all to just be concerned within starting immediately within the paper. So if you want to add this cover page, which is just simply your title and the actual MLA heading, you may do so. However, you're not required because that was not the expectation set out in class. Before you do anything, make sure that you format your paper by clicking format, line and paragraph spacing to ensure that your paper is double spaced, okay? Let me make sure that this is correct. I believe we need to fix it and make sure that it's double spaced. So I'm going to format. I see she has it on 1.5. You may have to sometimes go back and, oops, excuse me, rearrange it if you had it in the wrong format. And that's it, okay? So we look here, everything is double spaced appropriately, all right? Then you want to also ensure that you have your last name in the upper right-hand corner on the first page of your actual essay. That's when you would double click the area that I clicked in towards the top of the paper and the header will drop down. You'll ensure that your last name is right aligned by using this button. Type your last name, add a space, and then hit options, page numbers. And then for you all, you will actually start at 1 and then hit apply, okay? Once you do that, it will go ahead and it will populate for the remainder of the pages that you have, okay? And you won't have to worry about it anymore. Next, you want to ensure that you have your MLA heading, full name, my name, your class, which would be English 9, and then the date in the form of day, month, year, okay? Directly beneath it in the center, ensure that after your page has been left aligned, that it then becomes center aligned and you have your title here and everything is capitalized appropriately with the exception of articles such as the or a and by here, all right? Hit enter. And then now you are ready to begin your introduction. So as we go here and we look, here's our introduction, okay? And it begins with an attention getter. And if you were to go back here, you're gonna note that that's the first component, okay? Which could be an interesting fact, statistic, quote, rhetorical question, figurative language device, or anecdote, which is like a brief story that pertains to the topic you will be discussing. Remember, you want to engage readers, as in the audience. All right, so she starts off with a provocative statement. Okay, I'm not gonna read it, but it ends at circumstances. Okay. She starts off with a provocative statement. So I'm just gonna highlight this for my own well-being. Okay, and you can choose whatever color you like. It doesn't matter for the introduction as long as it's different. And label it attention getter. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put, she starts off with a provocative statement. Okay. Then you would comment. And we are still within the introduction. Okay. Next, you're looking for your narrow details. On your outline, you're going to notice that you have transition. It means the same thing. And it's basically background information, or like, an overview, as in like a summary about what the article that you are addressing was about. Okay. Or it could be like 3 to 4 rhetorical questions that foreshadow your thesis statement. However, for this class, we mentioned that your transition is basically the background information, or it's an overview of what your paper was about. So then that's when we come here. Notice that her narrow details are segmented B, C, and D. For you all, we decided, I believe, just to use B. That's fine, okay? Still similar. So we're going to ensure that from this all the way down until evil, that we have that covered. All right. There we go. We're not going to read this information because it has nothing to do with us. Okay, I'll just highlight this orange just for the sake of time. Okay. Notice if you see any squigglies, be sure to right-click them and correct them. That's part of the proofreading process as you go. Okay. So I'm gonna then label this. I'll put down narrow details, but in parentheses, I'm gonna put down transition because it means the same thing. Right. Making those corrections. You should have Grammarly on your computer. That way, when you see those straight lines, you can go ahead and right-click those and make those corrections. All right. We're still within the introduction. Next, the thesis statement. You have a 3-point thesis statement, or you should have one, okay? That way we know that each point is going to address each body paragraph, because you have to have a total of 3 body paragraphs. Therefore, we already went upon how to set it up. If we look here after the narrow details, what do we see? Boom, her thesis statement. Okay. Now this is her narrow draft. I'm sorry, not her narrow draft. Let me scroll down. That's not her thesis statement. Okay. This is her thesis statement right here. All right. And we'll go to her actual rough draft to ensure that she has all 3 points, and we will bolden them for the sake of ensuring that we have an understanding. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. Okay. And I'll just decide to highlight it a hot pink for now. Okay. All right. For the sake of time, I know that her actual essay is going to address anthropomorphism, the theme of guilt, okay, and mood. Those are her 3 points that I should be looking for. I'm only going to go over one of them within her first body paragraph for the sake of time. Okay. So we want to go ahead and make a comment. You're right. Sorry. 3 points. Thesis statement. Okay. What are our 3 points? Okay. We have anthropomorphism. Okay. We have, oh, excuse me. There we go. Okay. The theme of guilt. Okay. And mood. Okay. All right, so she did great with that. We're done for our intro. Okay. What's next? Okay, bypass. Step 2, body paragraphs, how to address those, all right? So we went over this, and basically we went over the structure of ensuring that we have to have a topic sentence, which is basically the first sentence that addresses the point of one of the points of our thesis statement, and we do that in order, okay? Then we have our intro to evidence 1, which is also known as your supporting detail, for supporting detail number 1, which is just a sentence that's hinting upon a piece of evidence that you're going to be talking about that connects to your point. Then you have your actual evidence that pertains to your point, and then you explain how evidence 1 connects to your thesis statement. All right. And then you will repeat this process, typically like for the best quality, 3 times. However, overall in class, I said you all should have 2 sets, meaning of supporting details, AKA intro to evidence, 2 pieces of evidence, also 2 pieces of explanation. So we're talking about basically from here to here, not set 3. All right. And some of you all were informed just to do 1 set if you were behind or struggling. Then you will have your summative sentence, also known as your concluding sentence, which is giving an overall, perspective of what you were discussing. All right. So I'm going to go back here. First body paragraph. Notice she has her transitional word or phrase to begin with, okay, which is great. She could have used first, then foremost, okay, as well. It doesn't matter as long as it's something introductory. And then she says Poe incorporates anthropomorphism throughout the story to build suspense that ultimately contributes to the aesthetics of the story. That's her topic sentence. So we're going to look for that and color-coded green. Once we come here, we're going to go ahead and bold in this with the comma so we can understand that we do have that, and then bold in anthropomorphism. You can always double check yourself by literally looking at the thesis statement above or the comment section here, and that's your first point is anthropomorphism. Well, that's her first point, I should say. So great. So then that's when we'll go ahead and highlight our topic sentence green and label this transitional phrase. If it was a word, it would just be one word by itself. Transitional phrase, okay, plus topic sentence, okay. All right, and then you would just put point 1, anthropomorphism. So we expect to hear about that term in connection to her thesis. Right. Next, we have our intro to evidence, which is your supporting detail. Means the same thing. All right. So we would go here. And then we'll notice that this is her sentence hinting upon the evidence that she may be introducing. It says Poe, from all the way from Poe to character. All right, that's what we're looking for. Come back here. And then we would ensure that we highlighted baby blue, if I'm not mistaken. This is just a sentence that hints upon what you're going to be talking about within the evidence that supports point number 1, your first set. So then I would, after highlighting it, I would put down intro to evidence. Number 1, and in parentheses, I'm going to put down supporting detail because it means the same thing. All right. Next, we want to ensure that we look for the evidence for set number 1. Notice how I'm going back and forth from my outline. All right. Yours may be arranged slightly a little bit differently. She didn't label it. This is the evidence here, and she has the introductory STEM, and she uses paragraphs. You don't have to have paragraphs, but my thing was saying, according to Poe, or Poe states, or Poe discusses, or whatever the last name of your author is, that's fine. So just make sure that you have a STEM that has the author's name as well as the verb, and then whether you follow through for quotes or a paraphrase piece of evidence or a summary of the evidence. So we're going to go ahead and look for that and highlight it orange. Right. Right. And then we're going to also label it evidence number 1. Okay. We're going to go ahead and highlight her STEM. I don't expect for you to have the paragraph number. If you want to, that's fine. But I do expect for you to have at least, a STEM. Okay. We all know that the STEMs are different. Let me unbolden that. Okay. And notice, because she introduces the poet at the beginning using his last name, which is fine, she doesn't have to use his last name at the end within her parenthetical citation. This is the page number. If you don't, have a page number, don't worry about it. It's fine. Just keep it as is. All right. After your first piece of evidence, you have your explanation of evidence number 1. We're going to highlight that in yellow. Go back to your outline. Okay. Notice here she explains. This begins from Poe all the way to past life. Okay. Highlight it yellow. Add your comment, explanation number 1. Remember, for you all, your explanation has to be basically your response upon how the author illustrates point number 1 within that piece of evidence that you've selected. Okay, remember, you have to write in third person. Notice as I'm going through this, I'm ensuring that I'm understanding Grammarly. Being responsive to Grammarly and correcting my work as I go, unless it's something said verbatim within a quote. Okay, great. Right. So what does that mean? We went ahead and we have our first set already. All right. You would then continue to repeat the process with intro to evidence with set 2 and set 3. Okay. However, in general, everyone was expected to do 2 sets as modeled here. The ones that I've only highlighted 1, but I'll highlight set 2. But you don't have to do set 3. That was optional. And unless I told you not to do, to only do 1 set, then you'll do so. Okay. Then we're going to show that we end with the actual conclusion. So I'm just going to go through now. I'm not going to highlight the rest for the sake of time, but I'm going to go ahead and highlight the concluding sentence. I think we pretty much get the point. So moving forward, just going to scroll down, but you will repeat the process with the same color scheme. And I'm going to come all the way down right now before I get the body paragraph number 3. Okay. And I'm going to look for my concluding sentence, which is a sentence that wraps it up overall. And that concluding sentence in Asiata's actual page would be, it would go from Poe all the way to Story. Okay. She has a long essay. At the time, this was the expectation of an 11th grade student that I had. Wasn't long for the sake of the fact that we wanted it to be long, but then the prompt she was addressing, it had to be. Okay. All right, so this is it right here. Again, I'm not doing all of this because I don't want to waste your time, but you would continue to, highlight each of, excuse me, you would continue to ensure that you are highlighting your intro to evidence, aka your supporting detail number one, evidence number one, explanation number one, and then you will follow through with the same thing with the second and the third set as needed. Okay. Again, this is a former student from a different class, so the expectations are different. You would then repeat the process here within your second body paragraph, and you'll continue on forward, and you'll do that. All right. So then she has her actual conclusion. And the conclusion consists of your transition, no word or phrase, and restating the thesis statement. You're going to recap each body paragraph's point that's within your 3 concluding points. And then you're going to conclude with something profound or thoughtful, or what poses like as a future question or implication. All right. So you're just taking that information from here and you are copying and pasting it to your actual final doc. And if you need to enhance something, enhance it. And you're also proofreading it either as you go, and then you're going to go back and ensure that you proofread it again, okay, or make those changes on your final draft. And that's pretty much it almost, okay? Once you're finished with that, you would go ahead and ensure that you have all of your work cited on one page, and you would use Scribr, okay, or a different MLA citation generator, and you would put your information here. Notice how she has everything in order within last name or the actual title of the work. And that's it, okay? And that's how you do it. Again, you don't have to color code this as you go. I was just modeling, showing you that basically you could do this, label as you go. And then once you finish, you could just resolve everything and then unhighlight it. Okay. That way it's ready for submission. All right. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for all that you do. Happy MLA writing.